The alarm blared through NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station at 3:17 a.m. Dr. John Miller jolted awake at his desk, a half-empty coffee cup still clutched in his hand. The computer screens in front of him flashed with urgent alerts. "What's happening?" he called to his assistant, who was already rushing toward the main console. "Unknown object approaching from beyond Pluto's orbit. Moving fast. Way too fast for a comet or asteroid," she replied, her fingers flying across the keyboard. John squinted at the readings. The object was changing course, making small but deliberate adjustments. Natural space objects didn't do that. His heart raced as he reached for the secure phone. "Get me General Clark at the Pentagon. Now." Within hours, every major government on Earth had been notified. Scientists and military leaders gathered in emergency sessions. Telescopes across the planet turned toward the approaching vessel. Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood at attention in the White House Situation Room. At 34, she was the youngest captain in the United Earth Defense Force, a position earned through brilliance and unwavering courage. The president had personally requested her presence. "Captain Rodriguez," President Samantha Hayes said, "if these are indeed visitors from another world, we need our best to make first contact. Your experience with the UEDF Diplomatic Corps makes you our top choice." Lisa nodded, her expression serious. "I understand the responsibility, Madam President. This isn't just about saying hello," General Clark added. "We have no idea if they're friendly. Your mission is to protect Earth's interests, whatever that might require." 3 days later, Lisa stood on the bridge of the UEDF Interceptor, the most advanced spacecraft humanity had ever built. It had been hiding in plain sight, disguised as a space station. Now, it raced toward the edge of Earth's orbit, where the alien vessel had stopped. "They're holding position near the moon," Officer Ben Martinez reported. "No aggressive movements detected." "Let's not make any sudden moves either," Lisa said. "Open a channel on all frequencies." The alien ship was like nothing they had ever seen, sleek and metallic with strange patterns etched across its hull. It was relatively small, perhaps only 3 times the size of their own vessel. "This is Captain Lisa Rodriguez of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact and communication." For several tense minutes there was no response. Then a beam of light shot from the alien craft, materializing into a holographic figure on their bridge. The crew gasped. The alien stood nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent blue skin and 4 arms. Its face featured 3 large eyes arranged in a triangle. "I am Ambassador Krelzath of the Arcturus Imperium," it said in perfect English. "Your primitive transmission devices were simple to decode. I come with a message from Emperor Zalvaroth." Lisa stepped forward. "We're honored to receive your message, Ambassador." The alien's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "Honor is irrelevant. The Arcturus Imperium spans 10,000 star systems. We have watched your species for decades. Your planet has been selected for integration into our empire." The temperature on the bridge seemed to drop. Lisa kept her voice steady. "Integration? We would be interested in establishing diplomatic relations." "You misunderstand," Krelzath interrupted. "This is not an invitation. Earth will surrender its resources and serve the Imperium. Your people may continue to exist as a labor force. Those who resist will be eliminated." General Clark, watching via video link from the Pentagon, cursed under his breath. President Hayes leaned forward, her face grim. "Ambassador," Lisa said, carefully, "Earth is a sovereign world. We would welcome peaceful exchange, but we cannot accept demands for surrender." The alien's expression didn't change. "Your acceptance is not required. You have 3 of your Earth days to prepare your leaders for surrender. I will return for your formal submission." The hologram vanished. Back on Earth, chaos erupted. Some nations called for immediate military preparation, others for surrender. A few religious groups celebrated the confirmation of extraterrestrial life, while doomsday prophets took to the streets. In an emergency United Nations session, President Hayes addressed the world. "Today, humanity faces its greatest challenge. The threat from the Arcturus Imperium is real, but so is our resolve. Throughout history, we have faced seemingly insurmountable odds and prevailed. We will not surrender our home, our freedom, or our future. Dr. John Miller worked frantically with his team, analyzing everything they had learned about the alien ship. The energy signature is like nothing we've ever seen, he told Lisa during a briefing. But there's something familiar about their communication patterns. What do you mean? Lisa asked. They're using a frequency modulation that resembles some of our older satellite systems. Almost as if... He trailed off. Then his eyes widened. Almost as if they've been studying our old transmissions. Meanwhile, Paul Rodriguez, Lisa's brother and a top intelligence analyst, made a disturbing discovery. We've found evidence that the Arcturus Imperium has done this before, he said, projecting images onto the screen. These are telescope images from the past decade showing planets in nearby star systems. Look at this one. The image showed a planet with obvious artificial structures. The next image, taken 3 years later, showed the same planet stripped of vegetation, riddled with enormous mining pits. They're not conquerors, Paul said. They're planet killers. Lisa took this information to President Hayes. The decision was unanimous among world leaders. Earth would not surrender. As the deadline approached, humanity prepared. Hidden defense systems, long kept secret even from most governments, were activated. Experimental weapons were deployed. Every nation contributed what they could to Earth's defense. On the third day, Ambassador Krellzath's hologram appeared in the United Nations chamber. Your time is up. What is your answer? President Hayes stood tall. Ambassador, please convey this message to your emperor. Earth recognizes the Arcturus Imperium's technological superiority. We acknowledge your greater experience among the stars, but we must decline your offer of integration. The ambassador's 3 eyes narrowed. Then you choose extinction. No, Hayes replied. We choose to send you a warning. We are not like the other worlds you have consumed. Humanity will defend its home with everything we have. If you wish for peace, we will meet as equals. If you wish for war, she paused, you will learn why no one has ever successfully conquered Earth. The hologram flickered as the ambassador seemed to consider these words. Then it laughed. A cold, mechanical sound. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our vessels. Your bravery is noted but futile. The Imperium will arrive within 1 of your months. Prepare to witness the consequences of your defiance. As the hologram disappeared, Lisa turned to her crew. Send word to all Earth forces. Operation Thunderbird is now active. The warning had been delivered. The Arcturus Imperium had made their choice. Now humanity would show the stars what it meant to threaten Earth. Ambassador Krellzath returned to the Imperium fleet stationed at the edge of the solar system. His small scout ship docked with the massive command vessel that dwarfed everything else around it. The flagship was 15 miles long, covered in weapons that could destroy entire continents. Behind it floated hundreds of smaller warships, each one still larger than anything humans had ever built. The primitive species has refused our generous offer, Krellzath reported to Fleet Commander Dresvon. As expected, the commander's 6-fingered hand tapped on the arm of his chair. Tell me about their defenses. Primitive. They have nuclear weapons and a few orbital platforms, nothing that could threaten even our smallest vessels. Their most advanced ship is barely capable of reaching their own moon efficiently. Dresvon smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Good. The Emperor will be pleased with how quickly we conquer this world. Its high oxygen content and mineral wealth make it a valuable addition. The report traveled up the chain of command, eventually reaching Emperor Zalvaroth himself. The Emperor barely acknowledged it. Earth was just one more insignificant world among the thousands that now bowed to the Arcturus Imperium. Begin the standard conquest procedure, he ordered from his throne on a planet 20 light-years away. I expect results within 1 planetary cycle. Back on Earth, Admiral Eric Daniels walked through a secret underground facility beneath the Nevada desert. For 30 years, this place had been hidden from the public. Even most high-ranking military officials didn't know it existed. Status. Report, he said to Dr. Susan Wright, the facility's lead scientist. Susan pulled up a holographic display showing Earth and the surrounding space. Operation Thunderbird is fully operational, Admiral. All 324 platforms are in position and powered. Up! Eric looked at the display with satisfaction. And the aliens don't suspect anything? Our intelligence suggests they still think they're looking at communication satellites and space junk. The truth was that Earth had been preparing for this day for decades. In 1947, a small alien craft had crashed in New Mexico. The public thought it was just a weather balloon, but the truth was much more significant. The recovered technology had given humanity a massive head start in developing defenses against potential threats from space. What about the ground teams? Eric asked. All major nations have activated their special forces units, Susan replied. China, Russia, the European Federation, and our own troops are all in position. In orbit around Earth, Captain Lisa Rodriguez supervised the final preparations on the interceptor. Status of the cloaking system? She asked her second-in-command. Fully operational, Captain, Officer Ben Martinez replied. As long as we stay in the shadow of the moon, they won't detect us. Lisa nodded. And the weapon systems? The plasma cannons are at full charge. The shield generators are operating at maximum capacity. The interceptor wasn't the only surprise Earth had in store. For years, nations had been secretly launching pieces of advanced defense systems into orbit disguised as satellites, space station modules, and even failed missions. Now they were activating, linking together to form a network of defensive platforms around the planet. President Hayes addressed the United Nations one final time before the impending attack. Today we stand together not as separate nations but as one planet. The enemy believes us to be weak and divided. They are about to learn how wrong they are. World leaders who had been enemies just days before now shook hands and pledged their forces to Earth's defense. Old conflicts were put aside in the face of extinction. Dr. John Miller worked with a global team of scientists to analyze every bit of data they had on the alien fleet. There's something interesting about their communication patterns, he told Paul Rodriguez during a briefing. They use a very efficient quantum encryption, but there's a pattern to it. Paul leaned closer to the screen. Can we break it? Maybe, John replied. If we can, we might be able to listen in on their battle plans. The Imperium fleet began to move toward Earth exactly 1 month after the warning was delivered. Just as they predicted, Earth did nothing visible to prepare. From their sensors, the planet appeared defenseless. Begin the first wave, Commander Dresvon ordered. Target their primitive missile defense systems and military bases. 20 warships broke formation and accelerated toward Earth. Their weapons, systems powered up, glowing with energy capable of turning cities to ash. Enemy ships approaching, Admiral, Susan reported in the command center. They'll be in range in 3 minutes. Eric Daniels took a deep breath. Activate Protocol Thunderbird. All around the Earth, hundreds of seemingly ordinary satellites suddenly transformed. Hidden panels opened, revealing advanced weapon systems developed from the recovered alien technology. Power systems that had been dormant for years came online. On the approaching Imperium ships, alarms suddenly blared. Commander, we're detecting energy signatures all around the planet, a junior officer shouted. Before Dresvon could respond, the first shots were fired. Beams of concentrated plasma struck the lead Imperium vessel, piercing its shields with unexpected power. Impossible, Dresvon shouted as reports of damage flooded in. These primitives couldn't possibly have this technology. The Imperium fleet scrambled to respond, but they were caught completely by surprise. 3 of their smaller ships exploded as Earth's defense platforms concentrated their fire. Lisa Rodriguez watched from the hidden position of the interceptor. Now it's our turn, she said. All hands to battle stations. The interceptor emerged. From behind the moon, its advanced engines flaring as it accelerated toward the alien fleet. Smaller fighter craft launched from hidden bases on Earth, rising to join the battle. Emperor Zalvaroth was furious when the news reached him. How is this possible? Send in the main fleet, crush them completely. The full might of the Imperium began to move toward Earth. Thousands of warships prepared to overwhelm the planet's defenses through sheer numbers. "They're calling in reinforcements," Paul Rodriguez warned as he monitored the intercepted communications. "A lot of reinforcements." Admiral Daniels remained calm. "Just as we expected. Initiate Phase 2. As the main Imperium fleet approached, they detected nothing unusual. Earth's defenses seemed to be concentrated in orbit. The planet itself appeared vulnerable. What they didn't know was that Commander William Barnes waited below with Earth's greatest secret. In underground hangars around the world, thousands of advanced fighter craft and larger battle cruisers prepared to launch. Each was equipped with technology reverse-engineered from the crashed alien ship and improved upon by human ingenuity. "All pilots to your ships," William ordered. "Remember the plan. Let them get close, then hit them where it hurts." The trap was set. The Imperium fleet moved closer, confident in their superior numbers and technology. They had no idea that Earth had spent decades preparing for this very day. As the first wave of the main fleet entered Earth's orbit, Admiral Daniels gave the order that would change the course of the war. "Launch all ships. Operation Hornet's Nest is a go." The sky above Earth lit up with explosions as Operation Hornet's Nest began. Thousands of hidden Earth fighters rose from secret bases around the planet, catching the Imperium fleet completely by surprise. Commander William Barnes led the Alpha wing, his fighter craft moving with impossible speed and agility. "Remember your training," he said over the comm system to his pilots. "Hit and run. Don't stay in one place long enough for them to lock onto you." The Earth fighters were smaller than the Imperium vessels, but they were faster and more maneuverable. They darted between the larger ships, firing precision strikes at engines and weapon systems before speeding away. In the Nevada Command Center, Admiral Eric Daniels watched the battle unfold on the large display. "Status report," he called out. "Our fighters have disabled 17 Imperium vessels so far," an officer replied. "We've lost 12 of our own." "And the captured scout ship?" Dr. Susan Wright looked up from her console. "Being transported to the research facility now. We managed to capture it mostly intact during the initial assault. This was a key part of their strategy. Humanity needed to learn more about their enemy if they hoped to win this war." At the research facility, Dr. Laura Chen waited anxiously for the arrival of the alien ship. As head of the Reverse Engineering Division, she had spent her career studying the technology from the 1947 crash. Now she would have a chance to examine current Imperium technology. "The transport is arriving," her assistant said. "They've brought 2 living crew members as well." Laura nodded. "Prepare the secure lab, and inform Captain Rodriguez that we're ready for her." Captain Lisa Rodriguez arrived an hour later. The battle in space continued, but her expertise was needed here. She entered the facility's secure interrogation room where one of the captured Imperium officers was being held. The alien looked smaller without its armor. Its blue skin had a sickly pallor under the room's lights. It glared at Lisa with all 3 of its eyes. "I am Captain Lisa Rodriguez," she said. "I want to ask you some questions about your empire." The alien made a hissing sound. "I am Sub-Commander Krell Noth of the glorious Arcturus Imperium. I will tell you nothing, primitive." Lisa sat down across from him. "You might be surprised by what we already know. For instance, we know your empire has conquered thousands of worlds. What we want to know is, have any ever successfully resisted?" A flicker of something crossed the alien's face. Fear? Surprise? Impossible. "No world has ever—" He stopped himself. Lisa smiled slightly. "So there have been others who fought back. Tell me about them." Meanwhile, Paul Rodriguez had made a breakthrough with the Imperium's tactical database. Using the patterns Dr. John Miller had discovered in their communication encryption, he had gained access to some of their files. "It's incredible," he told John as they worked. "Their entire military operates on a strict hierarchical structure. Every decision has to come from above. There's almost no individual initiative allowed." John nodded. "That could be an advantage for us. Our forces are trained to adapt and make decisions in the field." "There's more," Paul said, pointing to the screen. "Look at these supply line routes. Every military operation depends on regular, shipments from these central manufacturing worlds. If we could disrupt those supply lines. Exactly. In the research lab, Laura Chen made her own discovery as she examined the captured Imperium ship. The biotech components are fascinating, she told her team. A significant portion of their systems are actually organic, grown rather than built. She ran a series of tests on the organic components and noticed something surprising when a sample was accidentally contaminated with Earth bacteria. "Look at this reaction," she said, pointing to the microscope display. "The component is breaking down when exposed to Pseudomonas aeruginosa, a common Earth bacterium." Her assistant leaned closer. "It's like they have no resistance to Earth microbes. Or any microbes similar to ours," Laura added. "I wonder if their homeworld has a significantly different microbial ecosystem." She immediately began designing a virus that could target the organic components of the Imperium ships without harming human technology. Back in space, the battle continued. Earth's fighters had succeeded in confusing the Imperium fleet, but the aliens were adapting. Their larger ships formed defensive formations, making it harder for the smaller Earth vessels to get close enough to cause damage. "They're learning," William Barnes told Admiral Daniels over the comm. "We need a new approach." "Hold position for now," Daniels replied. "We've made an important discovery that might give us an edge." In her interrogation room, Lisa was making progress with Sub-Commander Krell Nuth. "Your empire has conquered many worlds, but you've never faced humanity before," she said. "Did you know that we've spent our entire history fighting each other? War is in our blood. We've developed tactics and strategies over thousands of years." The alien seemed disturbed by this. "Fighting your own kind is barbaric." "Perhaps, but it means we know how to fight. Your empire expanded too fast, didn't it? You've never had to deal with serious resistance." Krell Nuth shifted uncomfortably. "The empire has always prevailed." "But not without cost," Lisa pressed. "Not against everyone. Tell me about the Dorvan Rebellion." The alien's eyes widened. "How? Do you know about that?" Lisa didn't reveal that Paul had just discovered mentions of this event in the Imperium database. "We have our sources. Tell me what happened." "The Dorvans were difficult to subdue. They used their knowledge of local terrain to ambush our forces. It took 3 full cycles to conquer them completely." "And now they serve the Empire?" Krell Nuth looked away. "They were made an example of. Their resistance required the Empire to sterilize their world." Lisa felt sick but kept her expression neutral. "Thank you for confirming what we suspected. Your empire doesn't tolerate resistance because you don't know how to handle it." A meeting of Earth's Defense Council was called to share all the new information. Admiral Daniels, Captain Rodriguez, Dr. Chen, Paul Rodriguez, and Commander Barnes gathered via secure video link. "We've learned 3 critical things," Admiral Daniels began. "First, the Imperium's command structure is rigid and hierarchical, making it slow to adapt. Second, their supply lines are vulnerable. And third, their biotech components are susceptible to Earth bacteria." Laura Chen spoke up. "I've developed a virus that should disable their biotech systems on contact. We can load it into missiles or even release it into space near their ships. And I've identified their primary supply route to this sector," Paul added. "If we can disrupt it, the fleet here will be cut off from reinforcements." Lisa nodded. The prisoner also revealed that they've faced resistance before from a species called the Dorvans. They used guerrilla tactics effectively before they were ultimately defeated. "So we know they can be fought," William said. "And we may have advantages they don't expect." Admiral Daniels looked at each of them in turn. "Then it's time for Phase 3 of our defense. Earth will not just resist, we're going to take the fight to them." Emperor Zalvaroth was not pleased. The conquest of Earth should have been simple, yet 2 weeks had passed with no victory. "Explain this failure," he demanded of his advisors. "The humans have technology they should not possess," one advisor said. "We believe they recovered a scout ship decades ago." The Emperor's 3 eyes narrowed. "This changes nothing. Send Grand Marshal Vexcor with the Dreadnought Division. End this resistance immediately." Grand Marshal Vexicor was the most decorated military leader in the Imperium. He had never lost a battle in 300 years of service. His Dreadnought division contained the most powerful warships ever built, each capable of destroying all life on a planet's surface. "It will be done, Emperor," Vexicor said, bowing his head. "I will depart immediately." On Earth, the initial victory was giving way to concern. The Imperium had pulled back its forces, regrouping at the edge of the solar system. Humanity had won the first battle, but everyone knew the war was far from over. "They're bringing reinforcements," Admiral Daniels told the UN Security Council. "Our long-range scanners have detected a massive fleet entering the system." President Hayes looked grim. "How long do we have?" 3 days at most," Daniels replied. "And these ships are much larger than what we've faced so far." "Then we need to move quickly," Lisa Rodriguez said. "Dr. Chen, is your virus ready?" Laura nodded. "Project Typhoon is complete. The virus targets the organic components in their ship's systems. It won't destroy them completely, but it should disable many of their weapons and navigation systems. And I've completed my analysis of their tactical blind spots," John Miller added. "Their ships are designed for frontal assault. They have minimal defenses at specific angles relative to their main engines." William Barnes smiled. "My pilots can exploit that. We'll approach from their vulnerable points." Paul Rodriguez had his own contribution. "I've intercepted their battle plans. The new fleet is led by someone called Grand Marshal Vexicor. He's bringing something called the Dreadnought Division." "That doesn't sound good," Lisa said. "It's not," Paul confirmed. "These are planet killers. Each one is capable of turning Earth's surface into molten rock." A heavy silence fell over the room. "Then we can't let them get close to Earth," Admiral Daniels said finally. "We need to intercept them farther out in the system." Dr. Susan Wright spoke up. "There's one more thing we can try. I've been analyzing the data from our orbital platforms. There's a pattern to the Imperium's attack formations, a flaw we might exploit." She brought up a holographic display showing the movements of the Imperium ships during the previous battle. "See this? They always maintain specific distances between vessels, probably to optimize their shield coverage, but it creates a predictable pattern. If we can disrupt that pattern, their entire formation falls apart." With these insights, Earth prepared for the greatest battle in human history. The orbital defense platforms were repositioned. Every fighter craft was equipped with Dr. Chen's virus. Commander Barnes trained his pilots to target the newly discovered blind spots. But their most daring plan involved Captain Lisa Rodriguez. She would lead a small team on a stealth mission to infiltrate Vexicor's flagship and deploy Laura's virus directly into their command network. "This is a suicide mission," Admiral Daniels said bluntly when she volunteered. "Maybe," Lisa agreed. "But if we succeed, we can cripple their entire fleet at once." Her brother Paul insisted on joining her. "I'm the best at their systems," he said. "You'll need me to access their network." On the third day, Grand Marshal Vexicor's fleet arrived. 20 massive dreadnoughts led the way, each one miles long and bristling with weapons. Behind them came hundreds of smaller vessels, still larger than anything Earth had faced before. "All defense forces, this is Admiral Daniels." The Admiral's voice rang out across all channels. "Today we fight not just for Earth but for every world that has fallen to the Imperium. Stay focused. Follow the plan. Remember your training." The battle began with Earth apparently making a fatal mistake. The orbital platforms fired too early, their beams dissipating before reaching the Imperium ships. Vexicor laughed. "Pathetic," he said to his bridge crew. "They waste their ammunition in desperation, move the fleet into bombardment position." What he didn't realize was that the early firing was deliberate. Hidden within the energy signatures of those beams, Earth had launched Lisa's stealth ship, its hull coated with light-absorbing material developed by Dr. Chen. As the Imperium fleet moved forward, Earth's fighters launched. Rather than attacking head-on, they approached from unusual angles, targeting the blind spots John had identified. The Imperium ships struggled to track them. "They're attacking from restricted angles," an Imperium officer reported. "Our weapons can't target them effectively." Vexicor frowned. "Impossible. How could they know?" He quickly adjusted his strategy. Change formation. Bring all ships into defensive sphere pattern. This was exactly what Susan had predicted. As the Imperium ships moved into their new formation, Earth's orbital platforms fired again, this time with precise timing. The beams hit exactly where the ships would be, not where they had been. Chaos erupted in the Imperium fleet as several smaller vessels exploded. The remaining ships tried to maintain formation, but Earth's fighters continued their precise attacks, forcing them to break pattern. Meanwhile, Lisa and Paul's stealth ship slipped through the confusion. They approached the massive flagship from its underside, attaching their vessel to an external maintenance port. "We're in position," Lisa whispered into her comm. Beginning infiltration. Using cutting tools, they created an entry point and slipped inside the massive dreadnought. Wearing stealth suits developed from the captured Imperium technology, they moved through the ship's corridors, avoiding patrols. Paul consulted his handheld device. The main network access point should be 2 levels up. They reached the control room without being detected. Paul quickly connected his device to the alien computer system. "Uploading the virus now," he said. "It will take about 3 minutes to fully integrate." "We may not have 3 minutes," Lisa replied, pointing to the door where shadows moved on the other side. Outside, the battle raged. Earth's fighters were causing damage, but the sheer number of Imperium ships was overwhelming. Several orbital platforms had been destroyed. Commander Barnes's squadron had lost nearly half its pilots. "We can't hold them much longer," William reported to Admiral Daniels. "Just a little longer," Daniels replied. "Our final play is in motion." On the flagship, Paul finished the upload just as the door to the control room slid open. Lisa fired her weapon, stunning the first 2 Imperium soldiers who entered. "It's done," Paul shouted. "The virus is in their system." Throughout the Imperium fleet, ship systems began to fail. Weapons powered down. Navigation systems gave false readings. Communications became garbled or failed entirely. On Vexcor's bridge, panic spread as the ship's controls stopped responding. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Unknown, Grand Marshal," an officer replied. "Some kind of infection is spreading through our systems. It's affecting all ships in the fleet." As the mighty flagship drifted out of control, it collided with another dreadnought. The impact wasn't enough to destroy either ship, but it caused massive damage. More collisions followed as other ships lost navigational control. Earth had achieved the impossible. The mighty Imperium fleet was in disarray. "All forces, press the advantage," Admiral Daniels ordered. "Target their disabled weapon systems." But the battle was far from over. Grand Marshal Vexcor had not survived 3 centuries of warfare without learning to adapt. "Prepare for emergency planetary bombardment," he ordered. "If we cannot take this world, we will destroy it." Grand Marshal Vexcor stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship. Warning lights flashed all around him as his crew fought to regain control of the ship's systems. "The planetary bombardment cannons are still operational," an officer reported, "but we only have enough power for a single concentrated strike. Target their largest population center," Vexcor ordered. "If we cannot have this world, no one will." The massive weapon began to charge, drawing power from the ship's failing systems. On Earth, alarms sounded as sensors detected the energy buildup. "They're preparing to fire a planet-killer weapon," Susan Wright reported, her voice tense. "Impact in 3 minutes." Admiral Daniels turned to his communications officer. "Any word from Captain Rodriguez?" "No, sir. We lost contact when they boarded the flagship." Inside the Imperium vessel, Lisa and Paul fought their way through corridors filled with confused alien soldiers. The virus had disabled many of the ship's systems, but the crew was still dangerous. "We need to get to the main weapon control," Lisa said, checking a schematic they had downloaded from the ship's computer. "2 levels down." Paul nodded, his face grim. "And fast. That energy signature I'm detecting, they're charging a major weapon." They raced through the ship using the confusion to their advantage. When they reached the weapon control room, they found it heavily guarded. "We'll never get through that," Paul whispered. Lisa studied the room layout on her device. "We don't need to," Look, there's a power conduit running underneath us. If we can damage it, the weapon can't fire. Using cutting tools, they broke through the floor plating and found the massive power conduit. As they prepared to sabotage it, an alarm sounded. They had been discovered. Work fast, Lisa told her brother as she turned to face the approaching guards back on Earth. Dr. John Miller made a startling discovery as he monitored the Imperium communications. Something's happening, he told Admiral Daniels. I'm picking up new signals, not from VexCorp's fleet. He adjusted his equipment, isolating the signals. These are coming from the edge of our system, but they're not Imperium frequencies. Ondio. His screen appeared a message in multiple languages. One of them was recognizable as English. To the defenders of Earth, we are the Free Worlds Coalition. We have monitored your resistance against the Arcturus Imperium. Reinforcements are incoming. Hold your position. Before anyone could react to this surprising development, another alarm sounded. The dreadnought is firing, Susan shouted. Everyone watched in horror as a massive beam of energy shot from VexCorp's flagship toward Earth. But just before it could reach the atmosphere, the beam flickered and dissipated. Inside the flagship, Lisa and Paul had succeeded in damaging the power conduit. The weapon fired at only a fraction of its intended power, not enough to penetrate Earth's atmosphere. No! VexCorp shouted as he received the report. Reroute all power. Fire again. But before his crew could comply, new alerts sounded throughout the ship. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel, an officer reported, his voice filled with confusion. They're not ours. The space around the solar system suddenly filled with ships of various designs. None bore the markings of the Arcturus Imperium. Instead, they displayed dozens of different symbols, the flags of worlds that had suffered under Imperium rule. A transmission came through on all frequencies. This is Admiral Zor Kal of the Free Worlds Coalition. To all Imperium vessels, your reign of terror ends today. To the people of Earth, we stand with you. Commander William Barnes watched in amazement as the new fleet engaged the Imperium ships. Who are they? He asked over the comm. Friends, it seems, Admiral Daniels replied. Let's not waste their assistance. All forces coordinate with the new arrivals. Focus fire on the damaged dreadnoughts. The battle turned dramatically. The Free Worlds Coalition ships attacked with precision and fury, clearly motivated by years of oppression. The Imperium fleet, already damaged by Earth's virus and attacks, began to crumble under the combined assault. On VexCorp's flagship, Lisa and Paul used the new distraction to make their escape. They fought their way to their stealth ship and managed to detach just as a massive explosion rocked the dreadnought. Earth forces, this is Captain Rodriguez, Lisa transmitted as they sped away from the doomed flagship. Mission accomplished, requesting pickup. Grand Marshal VexCorp watched his empire's greatest fleet fall apart around him. For the first time in his 300-year life, he faced defeat. Impossible, he whispered as his flagship began to break apart. How could primitives do this? His final transmission to Emperor Zalvaroth was brief. The humans are not what we thought. Beware. When the battle ended, the remains of the Imperium fleet retreated in disarray. The coalition ships remained in orbit around Earth as Admiral Zor Kal and his officers traveled to the surface to meet with Earth's leaders. Zor Kal was a tall, gray-skinned being with 4 arms and large, expressive eyes. He bowed deeply to President Hayes and the assembled leaders. We have watched your fight with great interest, he said. For centuries, our worlds have suffered under Imperium rule. When we saw a single planet not only resist but strike back effectively, we found the courage to unite and join your fight. President Hayes stepped forward. We are grateful for your help, Admiral. But we sense this war is far from over. Indeed, Zor Kal agreed. The Emperor will not accept this defeat. He will send more ships, more troops, but now he must fight on 2 fronts. Here at Earth, and across his empire where our coalition is inspiring rebellions on dozens of worlds. Over the next several weeks, Earth formed an alliance with the Free Worlds Coalition. Dr. Laura Chen shared her virus technology with their scientists. Commander William Barnes trained their pilots in Earth's unpredictable tactics. In return, The Coalition shared advanced technology that allowed humanity to build better ships and weapons. Admiral Daniels was appointed as Earth's representative to the Coalition's War Council. "We have a long fight ahead," he told his staff. "But we're no longer alone." Lisa Rodriguez was promoted to Admiral for her bravery. At the ceremony, President Hayes pinned the new rank insignia on her uniform. "The Imperium thought they could intimidate us into surrender," Hayes said to the gathered crowd. "They chose war instead of heeding our warning. Now they face not just Earth, but a growing alliance of free worlds." 6 months later, Dr. John Miller stood in his observatory looking up at the night sky. The stars looked the same, but he knew everything had changed. Humanity was now part of something greater, a movement for freedom that spanned the galaxy. A ship passed overhead, its lights visible as it headed for orbit. It was the newly commissioned Earth vessel Defiance, under the command of Admiral Lisa Rodriguez. Its mission: to join the Coalition fleet in striking at the heart of the Arcturus Imperium. Earth had sent a warning. The Imperium had chosen war, and now the galaxy would never be the same.